the ZR1 is not exactly a slouch. It already makes over 1,000 horsepower, and it's not just any V8. It's their LT7, which is a reworked LT6 5.5-liter flat plane crank.
They're actually both referred to as the Gemini project at GM because they're twins. The LT6 was originally designed to be able to take the higher pressures of having two big twin turbos on it.
The Corvette team has been a phenomenal example of just having your storyline planned from the beginning and executing it to perfection. Like, the difference between a show where the showrunners didn't know they were going to have a second season and have to come up with something every season to keep people watching, and then a show that the writers knew everything that was going to happen from the very beginning and just make a banger every single episode and just deliver and create this beautiful arc that was planned from the beginning. You can tell when you're watching those two types of shows. And the Corvette is the latter one.
An example of the second would be a Breaking Bad. An example of the first would be a Game of Thrones.
Exactly. That huge area between the driver and passenger, that was mostly empty. And it was because they knew all the way back then when they were designing the C8 that they were going to put all of the electrical components in there for the eventual E-Ray. They knew back then they would do an electric version. They'd have motors in the front. And they knew then they were going to make a twin turbocharged V8, and that would be based on a flat plane. And they'd need to make a flat plane that they can then scale up to twin turbo, and they would eventually combine the lessons learned from the E-Ray, the Z06 and ZR1, and combine those into like a final product. They knew all of it from the beginning.
You make a great point. They absolutely planned this out. Your follow-up point about execution has been amazing to watch.
Welcome everyone to the Bose Bros podcast. I'm Mason.
I'm Jordan.
And we are not in our normal locations today. Rather, I'm not. I'm actually recording from Logan's humble abode, and Logan is not here to stop me. So I'm using his stuff while he is away doing who knows what.
And I'm recording from Mason's house.
Let's go ahead and get started with our speed rounds. First up, we have a game that Jordan likes. Least common denominator. So the point of this game...
I do like this game.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm going to show a bunch of cars in succession, and each one I show you, you try to guess what they all have in common. Eventually, it's going to narrow it down to really just a single thing that they all have in common. All right?
All right, let's see.
First one.
Okay, the 911 GT3.
I wrote 91 GT3, but yeah, that is 911 GT3.
Yeah, I wasn't going to call you out on it.
Next one.
Okay. Renault Megane RS.
Are you familiar with this car?
I'm familiar with the Renault Megane. The RS, not specifically. I don't know what engines come in it.
It's their sporty,
these are
high
they're both the performance variant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, Nissan 300ZX.
Any guesses so far what these might have in common?
Cylinder. It wouldn't be cylinder count because you did cylinder count before, and I don't think that Megane has a 6-cylinder. I would bet that's a 4.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Well, we had a 2-door rear engine, a 4-door front engine. Now we have a 2-door front engine.
Mm-hmm.
We had a rear drive, a front drive, and then we're back to rear drive again.
So no guesses so far?
They're all hatchbacks so far.
The 911? I guess.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's not. You wouldn't think of it as a hatchback, but yeah. No, it's got a trunk. No,
it's got the engine back there.
Yeah, it's really an engine cover.
Yeah.
Okay. Lamborghini.
Right, your favorite
Anus.
vehicle's next.
What in the world? Do they all have the same designer? No, they wouldn't.
That's a good guess, but no.
They wouldn't have the same designer because someone who designs the 911 would probably vomit at the sight of an Urus.
There it is. All right. Ready for the next one?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. And the BMW 850 CSI, are they all? No, I was gonna say homologation cars, but the Urus never raced, so 850 CSI, because that's a V12. Are we out of cars to draw a conclusion between?
I don't know. There's way more.
Oh gosh. Okay, next one. Honda Prelude. What in the world?
This is the first one where you can actually see what they have in common.
They all have rear wheel steer.
They all have rear wheel steer. That's correct.
The 300ZX had rear wheel steer?
It did.
The Urus has rear wheel steer?
It does. You like it just a little bit more now, huh?
No. No, it's just one more Lamborghini thing to break. Well, it's an Audi thing to break.
That's true. Yeah, and you can keep going after the Prelude.
Yeah, I was going to guess the rear wheel steer before you even said anything. But what's next?
Yep.
The Ferrari 812 Superfast.
Yep.
The 3000 GT, I totally would have gotten it at this point.
I know you would have gotten it by this one because we talked about it. That's why I saved this toward the end.
Yeah, and what's next? Oh, Suburban. Yeah, you could get that with the...
This one does have the Quadra steer, so it was
Quadra steer. I knew they had a specific... GM always has these names. Yeah. And the GTR, yeah.
GTR.
I knew the Hummer EV. Even
this one is like, if you didn't get it by here, by this one.
Yeah. I had no idea the 300ZX had rear wheel steer.
Did I? And that little Renault, too.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that one to even be surprised. But the Urus also surprises me.
Me too. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Because I didn't think the Audi equivalent had rear wheel steer either.
Yeah,
Just changed the body and the engine.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
All-wheel steering.
All-wheel steering. Okay, well, it took me longer than before. I got the V10 in like 3.
You still got it.
What was the one before that?
I don't remember. All right, but we'll take a whack at it again. I have one more for you.
Another least common denominator. Oh, boy.
Least common denominator. I'm going to show you a bunch of cars, and you have to figure out what they all have in common.
Okay, let's see. Okay, Lincoln Mark LT.
I
saw one of these in person.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Chevy SSR. So far, pickup trucks, V8s. Didn't sell well.
That's true.
Ugly.
Also true.
So far, all of that's in common. Chevy Avalanche. Oh, Midgate. That reminds me. Midgate was the first one we did.
That's right. Midgate. It's not a Midgate. This is the first one, and from this one forward, you can see in the picture what they have in common.
Ooh,
okay.
Hold on.
The previous two, you couldn't see it. This one is the first one you can.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Cybertruck. Well, they're not... The Ford isn't a unibody, but the last three are.
That's true. That's true. The Ford is based off the F-150, and it's body on frame.
Well, I mean, the Avalanche is body on frame as well, but I mean, like, the bed isn't separate from the...
Oh, yeah.
From the cab.
Okay, next one.
What in the world? That Chevy... So far, they're all trucks. So far, they're all... Well, no, 3 V8s.
All right, maybe
I
the
don't
next
even
one
know.
maybe the next one will clear it up.
What? What in the world?
You can still see what they have in common in this picture. I'm staring right at it.
What in the what? What do they have in common between all of these? It's not running boards. It's not a lack of door handles.
Ooh, that's
It's
a good
not-
one though.
Yeah, lack of door handles. You could get a few on there. Oh man.
All right, let's go to the next one. There's a
Oh
few
yeah,
more.
that's the same. The Ineos Grenadier. What? What do they all have in common? This is driving me crazy. Yeah, this is a good one because I have no idea.
It's a little obscure, but it's not too obscure because if you read our comments, people have pointed this out.
Is it amber turn signals?
Ooh, good guess, but no. I'd say it's less obscure than that.
Because so far they all do have amber turn signals.
That's a good one. That's a good guess.
It's a good one to hit Logan with before he sees this episode. Okay. Oh, okay. They're all 6-lug.
They're all 6-lug. You got it.
And what's the next one? The Kia Sedona. Kia Sedona's a 6-lug? What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I didn't pick it up by then, I would have gotten pissed. I would have been like, what is this? What is in common?
There's not a
They're
single
all
thing
6-lug.
that an Alfa Romeo TZ3 Stradale and a Kia Sedona have in common. That might be the only thing. They both have
Probably
seats.
is.
They both have
Yeah, they have
windshields.
seats. And yeah, they drive.
They move forward and backward.
The new Ram Charger has 8-lug for a 1500.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yeah,
crazy.
and after the Sedona,
Okay, the STSV. All right.
that's also
Nissan
6-lug.
Hardbody. Okay. And the Dodge Viper, of course, that'll have something in common with the Zagato. 6-lug wheels. Okay, I got it. Cool.
You got it.
You gave me a lot of cars to work with there.
Yeah. Some of those are surprising.
Okay.
What's funny is the STSV, it wasn't really a matter of like, oh, it just has so much torque. It needs more, lug nut power. It's more what would it be like, axle and spindle and every configuration for that would work for their performance version of it would come from a truck.
So the entire
That's what they had.
rear axle housing.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the 6-lug.
That's funny. I wonder what the heck was up with the Sedona
Those.
then.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a weird one. My Miata has a 4-lug.
Next one, cousin cars.
Cousin cars. Okay, cousin cars. So you're going to show me the obscure version of the car, and I have to guess what car is its cousin. What's it based on, or what does it share a platform with?
That's correct. I'm going to show you a vehicle. Usually it's the more obscure one, and you have to guess what the more common vehicle is. But I would say these are all roughly the same. They're newer vehicles, but you may be surprised that they're related.
Okay, all right. Let's do it.
Okay. Chevy Blazer EV. This is the EV version.
The Honda Prologue.
Yeah. That's right. And there's a couple more. Can you guess them?
Oh, the Cadillac Lyric.
Cadillac Lyric. And
There's no electric Buick out right now, right?
no, but there's the Chevy and its premium brand and the Honda.
Oh, and it's not Infinity. It's like an Acura ZDX or something.
You got it. Yep, Acura ZDX.
Oh, was that actually it? I just named letters.
That was it.
So clearly, I mean, I've watched videos on all of these, but like that was somewhere lost in the back of my mind.
Yep. And the Honda
Okay,
Prologue.
Cadillac Lyric. Acura ZDX. Are you impressed?
I am impressed. I knew the Lyric and the Blazer were on the same platform. I had no clue that it underpinned the Prologue and the Acura, which, funnily enough, in researching this, the Honda outsells all of these by a considerable amount. And it's objectively,
Yeah.
I guess subjectively, in my opinion, easily the best looking one.
It's the most car looking. It's most like looking like a regular car. The Acura, oof, that's hard to
Acura's
look
fine.
at. No,
I don't
look at
know.
the nose
I
on
don't
that
mind
thing.
it.
It's like a no. Where the top of the
okay.
Acura badge is the furthest point forward on the whole car.
Eh,
That looks weird.
I think the Blazer's the worst looking of them all, followed closely behind by the Cadillac.
Yeah, the Blazer's pretty rough. Cadillac, yeah. I mean, none of them look. I mean, you're right. The Honda looks the best. That's easy. The Honda looks the best.
Fine. Like it's a
And
perfectly.
it's just hard to pick which of the three look the worst.
Yeah, you can make a case for any of the other three, but I think the Honda is just easily the best looking one.
You wouldn't even know it was an EV. You wouldn't know it was an EV, and that's what sells to people.
Why it's the best selling one.
People don't want they don't want it to be a statement about anything. They just want to be able to drive a car that works for them. And if
Maybe
it
a
looks
few
like
years
a regular
ago,
car,
but
yeah, for sure. A few years ago, people were buying in and wanted to be seen buying in. Now,
as we've seen with
they
the
just
Ford
want a
Lightning
car.
car, if you can just make it easy to slide into an EV without drawing attention to yourself, that seems to be the strategy.
Minimum barriers, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what else is crazy is you can get that the Blazer SS for less than the base price of a Lyric. And it's the exact same speed as the Performance. It's the one bigger than the Lyric. It's the Celestique or something like that. Whichever one is between the Lyric and the Escalade. The performance version of that is the same as the Blazer SS, and they're the same speed, except it costs a little more than double what the Blazer costs.
That's crazy.
But you just get extra leather and whatever. It says Cadillac on the outside, and it's ugly. Like there's nothing you get with the Cadillac version that the Blazer doesn't have as far as performance and range.
Yeah.
So Chevy is way ahead of the game on range because they've got their own battery manufacturing pipeline that they're able to put giant batteries in these cars for really competitive prices. Either
For how big the batteries are, yeah.
For how big the batteries are. Like the Chevy Silverado work truck, the WT EV, that one has a bigger battery pack than any other electric car on the road by a lot and is the cheapest.
It's bigger than the Hummers?
The Hummer is 212, the work truck is 200.
Okay.
But I wouldn't
So it's
even
like
call
the
the
same
Hummer like
as the
yeah,
Hummers.
but the Hummer is like it's a piece of jewelry. It's not a car. So it's I wouldn't even call that
Escalade
like
has 212 too, I believe.
yeah, it's the same. But the Escalade's 200. The Hummer's 210 or 212, but the Escalade and the Silverado are both 200. But the Silverado starts at a lower price than even the equivalent range Ford Lightning, which isn't even equivalent because the Silverado gets almost 500 miles of range on one charge, and it costs less than the Lightning. It's crazy. So Chevy's got something going on where they are able to pump out these batteries for dirt cheap in comparison.
I mean, yeah, they're still pricey, the vehicles.
Yeah,
but
they're still
for
crazy
how much battery you
expensive,
get.
but yeah.
I mean, Tesla seems to have the best strategy, which is just sheer efficiency. So you don't need a massive battery.
Lucid's got the efficiency game locked down.
Well,
Their motors
efficiency
are way more
combined
efficient.
with cost-saving production.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
But it's more of a upmarket offering than Teslas are.
yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, so quiz. Ooh,
This
I
is
like
the
this.
Automotive Service Excellence Certification Special. So are you familiar with that certification?
I am. I've taken some of these practice quizzes, and I've never scored less than an 80.
Okay, well, you need a 70% to pass the certificate. If you get an 80 on the practice ones, why don't you just take it and at least get a certification? I guess
They're expensive.
I guess whatever, it's worth it to you. But
yeah, they're expensive, and I don't make any money. I make a little bit of money on the side doing this work, but it's not. I haven't put that money into my side hustle. I just haven't. So
right. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'm glad you're familiar with it. But yeah, we're gonna quiz you on a couple of questions that come directly from the practice quiz.
Let's see it.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. What might cause a spongy brake pedal? Your
Air in the
options
line.
are ABS diagnostic trouble code, frozen caliper position, defective metering valve, or air in the hydraulic system.
Air in the hydraulic system.
It is air in the hydraulic system. You got it. So why does that cause a spongy brake pedal?
Because the pressures that it's working under are really, really high, and air compresses, and liquids don't. Air is a fluid. Liquids don't compress, like brake fluid is a non-compressible fluid. And that means that the mechanical pressure you're putting with your foot and then being boosted by the brake booster is what's getting applied to the caliper. But if you have something in there that will compress, that means that the air will squish and it will take away the pressure going to the caliper because it's compressing something in between what you're doing and what the caliper is getting. And that's why it gets spongy.
Yep. Yeah.
That's also why they say to if you're losing braking ability, you pump your brakes. You take your foot off and go again, because you can compress and compress and compress that air, so that it won't really compress anymore, and you'll start to get brake feel back.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's why it's important to bleed your brakes, get all the air out of it.
Yeah, it's shockingly small, the volume of air that can cause a spongy brake. It's like, I mean, so
It's
small.
like bubbles.
A single air bubble. Yeah, a single air bubble could
Yeah. We're not
cause
talking a lot of
problems.
air here. Like just what would look like small bubbles in the line can do it.
Yeah. Or a single bubble.
All right. So you're at 10%
Okay.
so far. You need 70% or more to be certified.
Okay, so there's 10 of these. All right.
What should be done before road testing a vehicle with a rough shifting automatic? So before you do anything else, the customer has reported it's shifting rough. What's the first thing you should do? Check wire connections, check for diagnostic codes, check the ATF level, hook up a scan tool to the DLC.
I'm tempted to say that check the ATF level, because an automatic only shifts with fluid pressure, so it's not going to be able to shift if it doesn't have enough fluid. However, there's a lot of cases now where the transmissions are sealed, and you would want to know, the only other way to know if you don't have a transmission fluid dipstick is to check the DTCs, the diagnostic trouble codes.
I will say this. The question is posed very intentionally, that this is something that must be done. I said first, but it's more, it must be done before you take it out on the road. It must be done.
Okay, check the ATF level.
Yep, exactly right.
Okay. Because
Check
you don't
the
want to cause more
automatic
damage.
transmission fluid level.
Yep. I like this. I like this all the way until I get one wrong.
Yep, the automatic transmission fluid level must always be verified before a road test if a customer has stated that it is shifting rough. Now, why do you think they say that?
You don't want to cause extra damage to the customer's vehicle.
Yeah. They may have gotten it there with no transmission fluid, but if you drive it for 5 minutes and it grenades on you, then you might be liable for fixing the whole thing.
Yeah. The service industry, the vehicle service industry is all about mitigating liability.
Yep.
That's why I tell people, you're coming to me because it's cheap, not because I can warranty anything.
Yeah. You're coming to me because you have no other choice.
Fingers crossed.
Well, good job. 2 for 2. You're at 20%.
All right. What's the next question?
All right. Which would not cause steering pull under braking?
Okay.
Which one would not cause steering pull under heavy braking? Excessive tire pressure, poor wheel alignment, seized caliper position, or a steering gear problem?
Excessive tire pressure.
That's exactly right. Wow, good job.
Easy.
Easy?
Yeah.
So why would that not? I mean, I guess it's easy to say why it wouldn't.
The other ones would, because poor wheel alignment can cause, if you are, when you brake, you have weight transfer onto the front, and if you have, you could be doing something called tram lining, where one of your wheels is pointing straight and one is pointing slightly off. And then sometimes it'll pop over, and then the one that was pointing slightly off is now pointing straight. And then if you hit the brakes in that situation, you don't know which one of those tires is going to have slightly more grip, and then it might make you go a direction you weren't expecting. And then the steering gear problem. That was
happening with my Cuda. It was really poorly aligned, and it would be driving fine, and then kind of spontaneously, without warning, it would start pulling one way, and then it would drive fine for a little bit, and then after a while, it would just pull the other way, fairly aggressively. And it was exactly what you were saying. The tires were pointed outward, I think, just a little bit, enough that one tire would be pointing straight, like my left tire, my driver's side tire, and I'd be driving along like that, and suddenly, for whatever reason, the passenger side tire is the one that the car decides it's going to follow. And so I would correct, because it would pull me off to the right, and so I would turn left. So now my right tire, my passenger tire, is pointing straight, but my driver's side tire is now the one pointing off to the left. And they would kind of take turns which one was taking priority.
And especially under braking, you can imagine with a lot more pressure on those tires how that could cause a bigger problem. Seized caliper piston means that one of your tires isn't getting any brake pressure, which means it's going to stop the opposite side of the car, which means that you're going to turn like you're only braking the right side or the left side of the car. Steering gear problem seems pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, those are all pretty obvious. So, low tire pressure could cause steering pull under heavy braking if they're really uneven. Like if one tire is full and one is really, really low, that could cause some pull. But having them both overinflated or both underinflated, then it wouldn't.
Uneven tire pressure, severely uneven tire pressure. Okay, so next question.
All right, so this one, you're diagnosing a problem. So diagnose the situation. The engine cooling fan motor repeatedly blows a fuse.
Okay.
What could have caused it? An open circuit, an inconsistent connection, excessive resistance, or a short to ground?
Excessive resistance could do it. An open circuit, I don't think is going to do it. A short to ground would do it. An inconsistent connection could do it because, 3 of those could do that.
Well, I guess think of it more, what's maybe the first thing you would look at? Or most likely, or just most common? Or easy to check? Maybe the first one you should look at first. Because you're right, some of these could cause it, but one of these should be the thing you should go to first.
I'm going to say a short to ground.
That's exactly right. Check your grounds.
Okay, yeah. I was second guessing myself because I'm like, if it's a fan motor, it's experiencing vibration. Maybe it is an inconsistent connection. But short to ground will blow a fuse immediately.
Yep. Short to ground is the most likely cause of a cooling fan motor blowing the circuit's fuse repeatedly. This occurs when an electrical circuit is accidentally connected to the vehicle's chassis or ground. It can occur due to a wiring issue or a damaged component in the circuit. When a short to ground occurs in a circuit, it can cause a large amount of current to flow, which can overload the circuit and blow a fuse. That's also the cheapest to fix, usually. It's just a cut wire or something that's touching grounding to something it's not supposed to. It's an easy thing to diagnose and fix.
Okay.
Is that 4? I think you're 40%.
Yep.
All right, next question.
Okay. All right.
What might cause clutch slippage? Which of these 4?
Okay.
worn clutch release bearing, excessive input shaft end play, a leaking rear main seal, or broken torsional springs. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking the worn clutch release bearing, because that will move things out of alignment and reduce contact on the clutch pack.
All right, well, which ones can you cross off as not something that would cause clutch slippage?
I was going to cross off the leaking rear main seal, but if you're getting oil on your clutch pack, you could get slippage.
If it's leaking into like the clutch assembly?
Yeah, into the bell housing.
Okay.
Excessive input shaft end play. I'm going to go with leaking rear main seal.
Why that one and not worn clutch release bearing?
Really, it's 50-50 for me, but I want to say worn clutch release bearing. That's my instinct, but I'm second-guessing myself, and I'm going to go with leaking rear main seal.
Well, you're right. Leaking rear main seal. You hear that, kids? The lesson is always second-guess yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I live by that rule.
It's exactly what you said. If you have oil leaking onto your clutch, obviously that liquid is not meant to be in there, and it's going to be reducing your friction, causing your clutch to slip.
Yeah.
All right, so you're 50% now?
I've gotten 5 of 5, yep.
5 out of 5, good job. What should not be done when changing engine coolant?
Eat a sandwich.
Eat a sandwich.
Write a paper.
Mix distilled with tap water. Inspect radiator cap. Use a 50-50 fluid ratio. Or bleed air from the system.
Mix distilled with tap water.
Yep. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, you don't want tap water in there because distilled water is not conductive or as conductive as tap water, and the tap water will cause corrosion where the distilled water won't, because you'll have the materials in your system. You could have an iron block and an aluminum radiator, or an iron block, a steel radiator, an aluminum water pump housing, and these things are all in different spots in the galvanic series. And if you have a electrolyte, which is what the tap water would be, a very, 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 very mild one, and things that are different on the galvanic series, you're going to steal electrons from one material and deposit them on another, degrading both. So you don't want to have tap water in your system. You got to have distilled and a 50-50 ratio with your coolant.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head. It's funny how much of the automotive cooling principles also apply to custom water cooling in a computer.
Hardline water cooling.
Because I learned all about galvanic corrosion when I built my first water-cooled custom PC. And that's exactly right. You want to have as pure a water as possible. It's kind of a misconception that water is a good conductor. It's actually not really a good conductor, but it does suspend materials in it really well that can be a good conductor. So the distilled water mixed with anti-corrosive, antimicrobial, I guess the microbial is not quite as important in a car. It's not like you're going to have anything growing in there. But anti-corrosive additives mixed with the distilled water will keep your internals lasting longer. Now, that's if you're a shop doing this professionally. If you spring a leak and you're in the middle of nowhere and all you have is tap water or drinking water, by all means, you can put that in your system and run it and get it to where you need to go. You just don't want to run
change it out.
Your system long term on just tap water.
Correct. If you need to get to where you need to go, that's how you do it. I filled my truck with a hose at the junkyard and just drove it home after I finished putting it back together. That's what you have.
Yeah, and that's assuming at some point in the near future you're going to drain it and put in distilled water.
Well, that was 3 years ago, and
Oh, you haven't? Oh, well,
No, I'm kidding. I've replaced it since then.
yeah. So this is more quizzing someone who's going to be doing this professionally. You can use drinking water or tap water in your system short term if you need to. Steering dampers can be used to reduce excessive what? Negative camber, toe-in, positive camber, or positive caster. That's steering dampers. They can be used to reduce what?
Toe-in is when your wheels are pointed together. The end links is where you adjust that. I just can't remember the word that comes before end links. Just completely spacing me right now. Anyway, so positive camber would be the top of your wheels pointed out. Negative camber is the top of your wheels pointed in. And that only happens if you've been dropped on your head. And then positive caster.
High positive caster places the top of the wheel high.
Yeah, so steering dampers
can reduce which one?
I'm going to guess positive caster, because if you turn all the way over to one end, it changes your suspension geometry and you can actually tilt your car down towards the tire the direction that you're turning the steering. And if you have a damper, it's going to keep you from doing that. So I'm going to say positive caster.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right.
Nice job.
Oh.
You've officially passed your certification.
Oh, yeah, that was 7?
That was 70%. Good job. You don't want to read the rest of these, I assume.
Oh, no, I do. I want to get 100%.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, high positive caster places the top of the wheel high, so when it lifts, if too high, it will cause wheel kickback. And steering dampers can help reduce that.
Cool.
All right. Diagnose this problem. An output shaft seal on a vehicle with 25,000 miles is leaking. What could be the problem? Excessive bearing wear? Obstructed transmission breather? Naturally occurring evaporation? Or poor quality fluid filter? The output shaft seal is leaking on a vehicle with 25,000 miles.
Well, excessive bearing wear doesn't make that much sense for 25,000 miles. Naturally occurring evaporation doesn't make any sense. Poor quality fluid filter, no, because it would be the factory one, so it would be to OEM spec at 25,000 miles. You wouldn't change the transmission filter till around 60 on most cars. So I'm going to go with the obstructed transmission breather.
That's correct. Got it. Obstructed transmission breather.
Because that means that when the fluid gets hot, it's going to want to expand. It's going to increase pressure in the transmission fluid. Inside the transmission, the pressure will grow, and that will push fluid out those seals anywhere that it can leave.
You got it exactly right. A plugged transmission breather filter causing excessive internal pressure is the most likely cause for leaking out of the output shaft.
Ha! Take that, everyone in the comments that says I'm an idiot.
All right.
I might still be an idiot. It's okay.
Consider this proof positive, but...
Okay.
This just means you could be a mechanic, okay? All right. Why should you never touch the tip of a halogen bulb?
The tip or anywhere on the glass?
The tip specifically is what it's asking for, but I guess this could apply to anywhere on the glass. Skin oil can shorten bulb life. The glass can crack from pressure. Chemical burns can occur, or the glass can deform from body heat.
Did you come up with these, or these are on the test?
These were on the test. I had to shorten some of these to get them to fit in these squares and still be legible on like a shorts format. So I had to kind of abbreviate a lot. But this is the gist of the answers.
The skin oil can shorten your bulb life because it makes hot spots in the glass.
That's exactly right. Yep. If you touch the bulb The bulb gets really hot, and if you leave residue and skin oil on there, the heat that would normally radiate away gets concentrated and boils your skin oil that sits there and can actually create heat differentials in the bulb enough that can actually make the bulb crack or shatter.
Mm-hmm. Super common. It's when I worked at O'Reilly's, they hammered home, if you're allowed to change people's taillights and headlights and stuff, but just never touch the bulbs because they're going to come back and complain to us when they break in an hour.
Yep, exactly. All right. Last question. You're at 9 out of 9, 90%.
All right.
Let's see if you can bring it home. A fully charged battery should show what voltage? 9.2
12.
volts, 4 volts per cell, 1 volt per cell, or 12.6 volts?
12.6 volts.
Yeah, that's an easy one. 12.6 volts. Good job. 10 out of 10.
All right. I like that. You should do more of those.
Good job.
Makes me feel smart.
The standard is 2.1 volts per cell, and 2.1 times 6 is 12.6 volts.
We were sitting at 12.1 on a customer car, and it was giving us a couple of codes. And then we cleared it, ran it for a little while, still sitting at 12.1, and still had a code that I won't bore you with the details, but it was most likely caused by a low voltage. So even being down to 12.1 was enough to cause that code, even though it's over 12. And you would think, if you don't know, you would think 12 is plenty, but you get loss over the length of the cables, so you actually get less at any of the sensors.
So we're borrowing Logan's car while we're here, and his car would not start. I had to keep jumping it over and over. And I called him up. I said, hey, do you want me to get your car fixed while we're here and bring it to the mechanic and figure out what's wrong with it?
Uh-huh.
And he said, yeah, bring it back to the same mechanic I brought it to, because I had electrical problems with it a few months ago, and I brought it to them, and I thought they fixed it, but if it's still giving you problems, then he was like basically telling me, go back to them and try to, get them to take care of it. He's like, so I brought it to him with electrical problems before, so bring it back to them if it's still giving you issues. I'm like, okay. And I called, ready to be like, hey, so my brother, brought his car here, and he said you had like some electrical problems fixed and it's still having issues. I'm like ready to be like, hey, I kind of feel like you should address this. And they asked me about the vehicle, and they're like, oh yeah, like Honda Civic? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, we told him he needs a new battery, and he just never got back to us. And they're like, yeah, you can bring it back, but we're just going to change the battery. So I call up Logan, and he was like, oh yeah. We replaced his battery for him. I didn't need a mechanic to do that.
And then blitz down the highways of Maryland.
Out where he lives, the roads are actually really nice for a fun little, Civic with a manual transmission. Like it's pretty fun. I mean, the roads around here, like you don't really need anything more powerful than that to kind of throw the car around.
Yeah, you think he would do well with a Miata?
Oh yeah. Oh, the Miata would be so fun. Moving on to our discussion segments. There's been a lot of car news, so we'll try to.
Yeah, there's been a bunch.
First up on the news, there's been some updates on the Slate truck. The biggest one being the big beautiful bill that passed recently took away the EV tax credit.
So like their entire business model.
Yeah. If you go to their website, it no longer says starting at less than $20,000, which everyone had their doubts that would ever happen anyway, even with the EV tax credit.
Yeah.
It now says expected price mid-20s, what I still think is highly optimistic. If you were shopping for a $150,000 Escalade EV, $7,500, that pays for the rear seat entertainment,
It's 2 months payment.
A sub $30,000 car, $7,500 is a massive swing. Like you're changing entire price categories at that point.
Mm-hmm. The only other there's one car that starts under 20 now?
Is it the Kia Soul, or they don't sell the Mirage anymore?
The Versa. Versa starts at like $18,900, which $18,900 is a ton of money for a Versa.
Yeah.
Imagine paying someone $19,000 to kick you in the face every day, which is effectively the same thing as driving a Versa.
So the fact that an EV truck could have been had for close to Versa money, even if there was a faint possibility of that happening before. There's no chance it's happening now with that EV tax credit going away. So first, this is not a political podcast. We're not going to give any statements on our, on anything about the budget bill other than just state the fact that with the passing of that bill, it removes the EV tax credit, which has disproportionately really affected Slate here, who's going for like really cheap, cost-effective pricing that was really relying on that tax credit. It would have made it come out at under $20K. I personally doubt it was ever going to come out under $20K anyway. Regardless, whatever the price is going to be, it's now $7,500 more than that, which is a big swing at that price point. So state or local incentives may still exist, that you may get some incentives for EV vehicles depending on where you live, but the federal tax credit is gone.
It's a 30% price jump.
It does allow new American cars to have their interest deducted from your taxes. So if you buy an American-made car, you can deduct the interest from your taxes.
Wait, so we're incentivizing people to finance cars?
We are incentivizing people to finance a depreciating asset. Yes.
Wow.
Make it make sense.
Why?
Well, and that's not a political statement. That's just a financial literacy statement. That's not a good idea.
Well, I mean, it requires financial illiteracy to make that decision. Why would the federal government be in the business of financing? They're helping you finance a depreciating Why?
They're trying to incentivize people to buy American cars.
People are going to buy the best product. Make the best product, and you'll sell it.
Yeah, that's true.
What?
Yeah. Don't spend money you don't have.
Yeah.
With this price increase, I couldn't help but revisit the Maverick. When we talked about this last time, I ended up accidentally making a really strong case for the Maverick, which I didn't set out to do. But just when you put the numbers side by side, especially now, we're assuming it was going to come out at less than 20, which is a huge assumption. So with tax credit, 27 is incredibly conservative there. It's going to be more than that. But you look at these side by side, the Maverick in every objective way is better. You could say the Slate has a 6-inch longer bed, not even, and slightly more power, but somehow it's slower, like both in 0 to 60 and top speed, and has a lower payload and lower tow rating, and like a third of the range, less than, and comes with 2 doors, unless you make it an SUV. Well, actually, it still will always only have 2 doors, but it could have like more seats, but then you lose your bed. Has no stereo, no power windows. I'm all for cutting all that extra stuff out, all of the tech overload. I drive a car that's 50 years old, and I have way more fun driving that than like a new vehicle with features up to the, up to your eyeballs. I don't care about all the features. So I'm all for reducing the cost of a vehicle by getting rid of all that stuff. The problem is you get rid of all that stuff and it's still the same price as a Maverick that has all of that stuff.
Yeah. It's just because of the battery cost.
It's the batteries, which is my point. I have a brief opinion here. I think the Slate looks great. I'm totally on board with the bare bones approach. I personally put a $50 deposit down because I think it's a good direction to go. Like stripping out everything that's not necessary. I think that's a great idea, and I want to kind of support things moving in that general direction. But the Ford Maverick is better. For mid to high 20s, the Slate is just not compelling. It's not. $30,000 vehicle, honestly. And then before you start putting on options that make it approach the Ford Maverick in options, and now you're talking about like a $40,000, $50,000 vehicle. That still only has 2 doors. What makes it more expensive, you're exactly right, Jordan, it's the electric drivetrain that makes it more expensive. And it's only for people, it's this Venn diagram of people who really need a truck, but are really hard and fast on the fact that it's an EV and are not compromising on that piece. And there's just not a lot of room in the intersection of those two circles. even if you're environmentally conscious, the Ford Maverick gets excellent mileage. You'd have to be really, really committed to the idea of an EV and just not compromising on it. You're like, I need a truck, and it 100% has to be an EV.
And this whole thing is hinging on widespread appeal because of the price. If they're going to make their money, they have to make their money on accessories. And how many people are going to buy more than one clamshell for one truck? Nobody. So you have to sell more trucks to sell more accessories. And if you can't sell trucks because your market share is tiny, then you're up a creek without a paddle. What would be really interesting would be to see someone take that same approach of absolutely cost cut everything with a gas engine in it and not pay for the batteries.
Yep. When Slate first started in 2022, the automotive landscape was very different. It did seem at the time like EV was the future, and if you could get there quicker, you'd have an advantage. Now things have changed a little bit. In my opinion, Slate should offer a hybrid ICE or an E-Rev, or that little, this is down the road, but that little two-stroke engine you showcased. How cool would that be?
The RevForce, so I looked at RevForce's website. Their first product is a generator. It is a generator that is less than 1 cubic meter, so less than 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. So it's the size of about a 13 kilowatt hour generator. It's smaller than Mom and Dad's generator they just bought, which is 13 kilowatt hours, but it generates 13 kilowatts. It generates 100 kilowatts compared to the same size generator making 13 kilowatts and burns less fuel.
I don't know everything about the architecture that underpins it, but at least the general shape lends itself to a more traditional powertrain anyway, especially if it's an E-Rev. You just got to find room for that generator up front, and then you can keep all the electric drivetrain in there as well.
Everything else can stay the same. And you can drop the battery size from 57 kilowatt hours to 20 and also increase your range and decrease the cost. The whole thing would be way better as an E-Rev.
And for those that really want to stick to it being an EV, you can still plug it in and charge it like an EV. But in the event that you need to drive it more than 60 miles, you can put gas in it, and it'll get decent mileage, more than decent.
It generates more energy per volume of fuel than a Prius, and weighs 70 kilograms, so you're talking 150 pounds. It doesn't weigh hardly anything, but you put that in the front of a Slate, generate buckets and buckets of electricity with a little 2-cylinder.
That would be really cool. Here's the thing I think we're missing, and I'm hoping they come around to this, or someone does. Americans aren't gravitating toward small trucks, like the K trucks and everything. They're not gravitating towards small trucks because the trucks are small. They're gravitating towards small trucks because they're cheap and purposeful. Now, as a consequence, they are small, but we don't want the small trucks because they're small, or I should say most of us. There's not a lot of places, even in like the most urban, industrialized, metropolitan city centers in the US, I can't think of a place where a Ford Maverick, you're just going to be thinking, oh man, this Ford Maverick is just too big. Like, our roads are made for massive American vehicles. So maybe in the most congested of places,
San
a Slate
Francisco,
truck,
New York.
just for its size would be nice, but it's not like Europe. We have room for big vehicles here, and I just can't see myself being like, oh, this Ford Maverick is just too big. You know, like that's not going to be a realistic problem for most people. We just want cheap, purposeful trucks. And if they're small, so be it, but not just because they're small. That's not why we want them.
Ford needs to come out with a stripped down Maverick and just call it the Ford Rick. And it's nothing in it. Just the Ford Rick. And it's the same formula as the Slate truck. Nothing in it except enough juice to make you go forward.
We saved 18 cents by not having to buy the NAV letters to put on the back of the truck.
That is 18 cents per vehicle. Well, I think you're right. People don't want small trucks because they're small. They want them because they're cheap. And
we don't mind small trucks.
It's cheap. We want
if
cheap
they're cheap
trucks.
and purposeful.
They've got to be useful. They've got to be cheap.
Exactly.
You're right.
Do that. I'll buy one. All right. I saw this pop up. I'm going to blow through this pretty quickly because this is still like mostly still in conception, but I still really like the look of this truck, so I wanted to talk about it. So Alpha Motors, have you heard about them?
No, I have not. This is the first I've heard of them.
So this is a innovative new idea, okay? Stay with me. It's a California startup with some tech bros with ties to the automotive industry that are looking to shake up the automotive world by making a small, affordable electric truck.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one before.
Yeah, you're like, wait, I've seen this. Insert the Back to the Future meme.
Yeah, exactly.
The truck looks great. It looks
it
like,
does. Yeah.
Speaking of Back to the Future, it looks like the Toyota from that movie.
A little bit, yeah, with the headache rack and the light pods.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's not aerodynamic at all.
So they're pretty ambitious with what their initial offering is trying to be. They offer like a ton of configurations with this truck. That's like extended cab, single cab, 4 doors, flatbed, and they're making or trying to make cars, both a 2-door and a 4-door, and like a sports version of each.
Jeez.
And we're wanting to make a hatchback version of that sedan and a crossover and a 2 and 4-door SUV.
What? So they're like, we're going to start off simple, and we're going to make every vehicle for every segment.
Usually want to start with one offering, at least start making money.
Wait,
but nope, they want to do it all.
Does this hatchback have 2.5 doors? That green one?
I think so.
It looks like these are just renderings. This is nothing. This is vaporware.
They're renderings. They're renderings, but they're really high quality renderings.
Yeah. Ooh. They don't have a nice car. They have a nice computer.
Established in 2020, based out of Irvine, California. All vehicles exist as 3D models. They have 3 physical examples that I know of. The 2-door Ace Coupe, the 4-door Saga sedan, and the 2-door Wolf truck. Only the truck so far is drivable. They have a YouTube page where they have a driving truck. But as you mentioned last time, Elon Musk has said it before, it's easy to make one of something. It's hard to make a lot of something and have people buy it. They have 80,000 pre-orders, which sounds impressive, but they don't require any money down to make that reservation. So for what that's worth,
it's not worth anything.
They have not stated any mass production start dates.
Yeah, we can move on.
And the 2-door rear-wheel drive truck and the 2-door coupe base models supposedly will start at $36,000, which, if true, would be pretty competitive. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's still so much money. Like
it's the same story.
It's gonna be $10,000 more to start. No, it's just Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, we can move on.
Yep, we can move on. I just think they look cool. I wanted to talk about it, but yeah, we've seen this one before.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the meat and potatoes. Corvette ZR1, ZR1X.
I can't believe they did ZR1X just like a week after ZR1. And just a 1-2 punch.
It was actually a couple months. It felt like a week, but it was a couple months.
Really?
We have not talked about the ZR1 in this episode yet, and they have already come out with the ZR1X, or at least revealed it. Because the ZR1 is a 2025 model. ZR1X is 2026.
Yeah.
So they've already revealed the ZR1X, the Zora, what's been rumored for...
Zora would have been so much a better name. It would have been way better.
Zora's pretty cool.
In the ZR1 versus ZR1X, it's like people don't understand the difference. They're gonna forget. They're gonna refer to one as the other. They're gonna mix up which is which, and they are not the same. And so they absolutely should have changed it. There's the ZR1 and then the Zora. That would have been way better.
The ZR1 is not exactly a slouch. It already makes over 1,000 horsepower from the largest twin turbos ever fitted to a V8, maybe even a production car. And it's not just any V8, it's their LT7, which is a reworked LT6 5.5-liter flat plane crank, which is a phenomenal engine. It's what they put in the Z06. And It sounds literally like a Ferrari.
That engine, that LT6 and the LT7, they're actually both referred to as the Gemini project at GM because they're twins. They're the same engine. The LT6 was originally designed to be able to take the higher pressures of having two big twin turbos on it.
If I'm not mistaken, they did make some upgrades between the LT6 and LT7.
Yes, but they were like co-designed. GM made a really big point. Their engineers that are talking to Savage Geese is where I saw this. They made a really big point to say, like, these are twin engines. They are broadly the same. The LT6 is not a lesser engine. It's just
an overbuilt.
The LT6 is an overbuilt engine. The LT7 is not a stressed LT6.
I'll get to this in a second, but the Corvette team has been a phenomenal example of just having your storyline planned from the beginning and executing it to perfection. Like a difference between a show where the showrunners didn't know they were going to have a second season and have to come up with something every season to keep people watching, and then a show that the writers knew everything that was going to happen from the very beginning and just make a banger every single episode and just deliver and create this beautiful arc that was planned from the beginning. You can tell when you're watching those two types of shows. And the Corvette is the latter one.
An example of the second would be a Breaking Bad. An example of the first would be a Game of Thrones.
Exactly. That Corvette instrument cluster, that huge area between the driver and passenger, that was mostly empty. And it was because they knew all the way back then when they were designing the C8 that they were going to put all of the electrical components in there for the eventual E-Ray. They knew back then they would do an electric version. They'd have motors in the front. They would need room for the batteries and electrical components. And they knew then they were going to make a twin turbocharged V8, and that would be based on a flat plane. And they'd need to make a flat plane that they can then scale up to twin turbo. And they would eventually combine the lessons learned from the E-Ray and the Z06 and ZR1 and combine those into like a final product. They knew all of it from the beginning. And you can tell. It's like the people on the Corvette team work at a completely different company than the other products that Chevy sells.
Yeah, you can, and you don't have to say Chevrolet. Corvette has made itself a brand.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You make a great point. They absolutely planned this out. And your follow-up point about execution has been beautiful. It's been amazing to watch. The one thing that Savage Geese found out from one of the engineers on the ZR1X, that he's like, I don't know that they were supposed to say this because it's kind of a giveaway on some upcoming numbers. The ZR1 could do this time through the quarter mile at 144 miles an hour or something, like some absurd number. Like the Demon makes it to 130 through the quarter mile as its trap speed. And he said, we know, they mentioned that the electric motors in the front of the ZR1X disconnect at 150 miles an hour. And he did mention that on their quarter mile runs that they had a point at which they had to disconnect the electric motors. Well, you combine that with the fact that we know from the E-Ray that they disconnect at 150. That means that we're not hitting 140 something. We're cresting well over 150 for the trap speed in the ZR1X.
The Demon 170, if you get a perfect of all perfect launches, can do 151 trap speed in the quarter mile.
The Demon 170, yeah, but the Demon is like 132 or something. It's like low 130s.
But the Demon 170, as cool as it is the definition of a one-trick pony. It's meant for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the ZR1X will go toe-to-toe with it and is supposedly going to be an absolute track monster.
It's going to suffer from its own success. No regular person without 20 years of professional driving experience
is going to touch the potential of that thing.
You won't even get close to challenging the abilities of that vehicle. But it goes back to what I always say, which is it's more fun to drive slow car fast than a fast car slow. It's a common car guy adage, than being afraid of the right pedal, which is what it would be in the ZR1 or ZR1X.
Yeah, if you're testing the limits of the ZR1X, you are doing some life or death things.
Oh, yeah. That's another good point.
It has 1,250 horsepower, almost 200 horsepower on the ZR1, which comes entirely from the E all-wheel drive system, which is 2 motors in the front, which it makes sense they disconnected at 150 miles an hour because that's where you need them at the low speed, low RPM end of the spectrum. And once you're up to speed, the just raw twin turbocharged V8 is going to be all the power you need. It's got a sub 2 second 0 to 60. They haven't given exact numbers yet, and a sub 9 second quarter mile, which is Demon 170 territory. But we'll see once they're done with their testing what the official numbers are.
So yeah, the ZR1 is a monster already. I can't even imagine what the ZR1X is going to do.
It was already setting track records left and right. And at just, and I say just, with quotes, $250,000,
so much money.
It undercuts the Mustang GTD by a cool $100,000.
But at that point, you're not buying a performance vehicle. You're buying a rare item. You're buying a piece of jewelry.
The GTD is cool in its own right, but it's hard to justify the price in a world where the ZR1 and ZR1X exist. But the Zora, going back to the Zora name, Chevy has said openly in the last few days, the ZR1X is not the end of the line for the C8.
What?
We're not done
Really?
with the C8 yet. Really?
What else could
I
they?
don't know what that means.
What else could they put? Are they going to put rockets on it? What are they going to do?
I don't know. But supposedly, according to Chevy, the ZR1X is not the end of the C8 line.
So is the Zora going to be above the ZR1X? Is it going to be called the Zora?
Maybe this is probably complete sacrilege here. Maybe it's completely electric.
Yeah, it would have a lower top speed. It would be...
No, I don't think they would do that. It caused enough hoopla just to move the engine to the back.
Yeah, no.
Supposedly, Corvette's got more potential with the C8. Who knows? All right, moving on.
Okay.
Cafe regulations have been left in the dust.
I didn't know they were gone.
So, CAFE, corporate average fuel economy, are a set of standards that brands must meet, or they need to buy credits from other manufacturers that exceed them, or they need to pay penalties on the vehicles that they sell that don't meet those standards. It was first enacted by Congress here in the U.S. in 1975, so exactly 50 years ago. In January, the Trump administration announced that it would revisit the NHTSA's standards. And in June of this year, they issued an interruptive rule limiting its enforcement. And then Congress also completely eliminated CAFE penalties for passenger cars and light trucks as part of the recent spending bill. So they couldn't outright get rid of the CAFE standards, but what they were able to do is remove any and all penalties. So the standards exist, but you don't have to pay any fines anymore if you don't meet them, which effectively means they do nothing.
Yeah, so if there's no penalty...
So there's no incentive for manufacturers to adhere to them.
Well, there is, though. There is, because it's going to change. If it was that easy to change for one side, it's going to change back the other way for the other side. So if they're not gone entirely and the enforcement is stopped right now, they can't make a bet on that. They can't just go like, all right, we're back in on Hemis and everything, because then in 3 or 4 years, when somebody else is in office, then they've put all their eggs in the wrong basket again. So it does behoove them only because of the uncertainty. If they could be certain that, or even if I don't want to get rid of the CAFE standards. I don't want to get rid of all the penalties and everything. I want them to be more realistic, because if you tighten the noose so much that we're all just driving around in lifeless little...
I mean, we tried this in the 70s, and that was called the malaise era for a reason. We came off the high of the late 60s and early 70s, where performance cars were everywhere and super cheap, and then you fast forward 10 years, and every American vehicle is just terrible. That's what you don't necessarily make better cars with high standards. You just neuter your existing vehicles.
Right. And I there's nothing wrong with them making manufacturers follow environmental compliance rules. Right now we have less carbon emissions per capita in the US than we did before World War One. We have the lowest carbon emissions per capita in over 100 years. And I think we're doing pretty well. And if we loosen the stranglehold on the American automotive industry, it will make no difference.
Yep. Well, they're still there. And you make a good point that although they don't have to pay a fine right now, to make a vehicle, to get it crash tested, to get it emissions tested, to all of the million things you have to do in order to sell a vehicle here.
Mm-hmm.
If another administration comes in 3.5 years, you're going to have to undo all that. But I will say, Dodge, had they had a crystal ball, I don't think would have made the same decisions they made. They probably would have just continued to go like full, because they were selling more and more Chargers and Challengers every year. I think they would have just kept doing that and moved slower into the EV space.
Or at least introduced and overlapped. If you overlapped a 6-cylinder at the same time as the Hemi,
exactly.
Then and you had them both on at the same time,
and let people both drive both.
If you just go like, nope, you don't get that anymore. In fact, you don't get any gas engines anymore. It's going to be electric. Freaking Carlos Tavares he sucks. I hate that guy. He's the worst.
Speaking of which, SRT is back.
Yeah, yes it is. Yes it is. Oh, this gets me excited.
In Tim we trust.
Yeah, in Tim we trust.
Not only is he back as the head of Ram, which is where he started a couple months ago, he's brought back as the CEO of Ram. He's actually the head of all American brands, retail and marketing. And he reports directly to the Stellantis CEO.
I read that Tim was like, they pushed back the Ram Charger again. And Tim was like, it's not because we can't do it or we can't figure it out. They're done. We could put them on the production line right now, but they're just in lower demand. It's for no other reason that people are buying so many Hemi trucks right now that we can't make the other ones.
Yeah. He reports directly to the new Stellantis CEO, Antonio Filosa, who is the former America's COO. So he at least has some familiarity with the American market, unlike our man Carlos Tavares, who apparently has never met an American in his life. So the father of the Hellcat is back, and he is in charge of all of Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. And he's bringing back SRT, which kind of just silently went away after the Stellantis merger. Mm-hmm. What he wants to do is gather all of the high-performance engineers across Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram and get them under one roof. So what does that mean in practice? No one knows yet.
It gets me excited.
Could it be SRT still just a performance trim that they put on their like high-performance models? Is SRT going to be its own separate brand? They've tried that in the past. Mm-hmm. Is the Hellcat coming back? Are they going to invest in a new, more efficient Hemi? Are there going to be new vehicles? Maybe a CUDA? Having SRT back really opens up the performance possibilities for all of these brands. And as car guys, that gets us excited.
Admittedly, I'm more excited than somebody who's like a Ford fan, but just having a long time affinity for Dodge and knowing that the reliability is lacking. A car is an outfit. It's what you put on when you go down the street. The same way that the clothes you put on say something about you. That's the case with the Chargers and the Challengers. People want that style. And the fact that spirit is back, SRT is back, the Dodge spirit is back.
As Mopar guys, there hasn't been a lot recently to get excited about.
Yeah.
This is something. This is definitely something. Tim has literally made billions of dollars for that company with the Hellcats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's probably one of the single most lucrative hires they've ever had.
So the fact that they're putting him at the head of all American brands, that just from a business standpoint, that makes a lot of sense.
Just sitting there doing nothing, staring at a white wall for 8 hours, he would be a more effective leader because people trust his leadership. And that's just sad for Carlos Tavares.
Well, that brings us to our last story. So there's been some updates on the six-pack Charger. So people are now regularly seeing these things around. And they do look very similar to the EV counterparts. For most of the vehicle, it looks identical. You can see some tailpipes out the back, which the EV, of course, doesn't have. And up front, you can see a huge bulge in the hood, which leads me to believe they probably initially didn't intend to put an engine in this thing, because that inline six is long and it's tall. And you can see, if you look at the side profile, that hood sticks out pretty far. They probably kept all the other like quarter panels and grill and like that whole front area as similar as they could, just to be able to use as many of the same components as they can. But they had to do something to make that engine fit. So they hit the hood. It looks cool from a style point, but I think it was more of a necessity thing to get that engine to fit in there.
Now that you say that, it does kind of look like an afterthought.
That's one of my biggest issues with it, is that the front drops off so much. It's supposed to be flat, like the Challenger's hood, the Cuda's hood, the Roadrunner. The hood is flat. It doesn't dip down like that. So anyway, I think it looks cool. You're also regularly seeing the four-door version now, is just driving around. If you go to the next page, you could see an example of the four-door, which, again, I've said this a million times, it looks so much better as a four-door. And I like two doors, but how they proportioned this particular vehicle, it just looks right as a four-door.
I really want to see the Throttle House boys get their hands on this, or Jason Camisa, to really test out and do AB right next to the high output six-pack against the
5.7.
Well, against the 5.7 of the old generation and against the new electric one. And the electric one will beat it in a straight line, but I bet this wins around a track just for
these can do
reasons.
Burnouts.
Right, which is really all you need. That's like what you're saying. That's the outfit you're wearing, is burnouts.
Like, ultimately, you try to make a justification for the EV Charger, and you talk about the stats and the performance and the fake exhaust noise, and be like, is it a real Dodge replacement? Like, does this really like convince Dodge buyers? And then you realize it can't do a burnout, and you're like, okay, what even is this then? What is the point?
You completely misunderstood the goal here.
You can actually see the heat extractor in the shot of the four-door in the hood. It says six-pack facing the driver, and you can read it from the driver's seat.
That is the kind of cheesiness we're looking for.
I'm like, yeah, okay, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, that is exactly the kind of nonsense that I and other Dodge buyers like.
I'm like, that's pretty cool. Have you heard what it sounds like?
I have.
Did you see the footage of the one driving around Detroit the other day?
No, I did not.
Dodge has been filming commercials in Detroit over the last few days, and there's quite a bit of footage of this new this red high output six-pack that's been like doing drifts and burnouts and stuff around Detroit, with like a camera crew and drones and stuff following it. So if we go to the next one, you can get a sample of how this new high output six-pack is going to sound.
For having turbochargers, you can still hear it pretty clearly. They did a pretty good job tuning that exhaust. Normally, you can tell something is turbocharged immediately because it sounds pretty choked, and it still does, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it's still got like a throaty sound to it. People are going to love that way more than an electric one.
Obviously, it doesn't sound as good as the Hemi. Obviously,
right, it was never going to.
No, that was never going to happen. I think you're right. Everybody prefers that to the fake EV noise that sounds like a repeating MP3. Everyone likes that more, is going to like it more. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good as the Hemi. It was never going to. It sounds good enough. It sounds like a performance vehicle.
Yeah.
So we also have names for the trims. The standard GT, or sorry, the standard output is the GT. The high output is the Outlaw. Which is a bit on the nose for Charger drivers, but yeah.
The standard is the GT and then the Outlaw.
High output is
pretty
the
cool.
Outlaw. It's pretty cool.
Come on. They've always done well with the names.
They're good at colors and they're good at names for sure. They used to have a Charger Deputy back in the day, a trim called the Deputy. So Outlaw, they might have even had an Outlaw. I'll have to go back and look. I'm forgetting my Mopar history, but they definitely had a Deputy.
So how funny would it be that instead of the GT, they had Deputy and Outlaw at the same time, and the Deputy is the low output version?
Deputy's a little corny now, but it would be funny.
It would. So come on, that would be great.
Over the last few days, Dodge has been spotted throughout Detroit with a high output Outlaw and a standard output GT. The GT one is white. So you if you look around, you'll see footage on people's Instagram and TikTok of these Chargers and drones and like camera vehicles chasing them around. And they also had a 2026 SRT Hellcat Durango that was also being filmed. Now it's not notably different than the 2025, but I don't know if like SRT is going to have their own commercial coming out. I don't know. I don't know why they have the Durango there, but still pretty cool to see those vehicles like driving hard, doing burnouts, drifting around corners, and getting a police escort while doing so. Someone commented that in a couple months' time, those same police cars will be chasing those same Chargers.
Yeah.
I said this before, but the six-pack Chargers, you will actually see those regularly out on the road. An EV Charger is something... I went to Carlisle, which is the mecca of Mopar, the biggest gathering of Mopars in the world, as far as I'm aware. And there were like 6 of those EV Chargers there. There were more 1970 Cudas that are 50 plus years old. There was like 100 of those. And there were like 6 EV Chargers.
Shows the demand.
Yeah. So anyway, you'll see a lot more of those six-packs than you'll ever see of the EVs.
Absolutely.
That's
you got
it.
Anything else for us?
No, that's it.
Well, thanks for setting this one up. I didn't put any effort into this one. And I'm just going to leave your office a mess for you to come home to in a few days.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And we'll catch you next time. And who knows whose house will be at that time.